Did you know that you can be in the same diaspora, yet other people seem to succeed more than others?
Now, the reason why that is because there are different categories of diasporans. And these categories determine how far each one gets.
You know, I tried recording this video outside, but the audio quality was really bad, so I decided to do this video indoors. So we're talking about the different types of diasporans and how they affect what they achieve while they're in the diaspora. So the first group I'd like to talk about is one that I call the victim mentality syndrome group. Now, this group, they are, I wouldn't say lazy, but they are not very ambitious, and they blame their lack of ambition on the government, the weather, people, upbringing. So it's always somebody, or they deflect their lack of ambition on somebody. Oftentimes you would hear that, oh, you know what, I will go back to Zimbabwe when the government has changed, for example. Or, you know what, Zimbabwe is so bad that I cannot do business there. So these are the people who always have great excuses. In fact, they are professional and they're professionals at coming up with excuses and blaming anybody else other than themselves. But what you'll find is in that same country, in that same diaspora, for example, maybe even here in the UK, they have not achieved as much as others because of this attitude or this ideology. So that's the first one. Whenever I'm sure you've come across these, whenever, you're trying to do something to better yourself, no, don't do that, because the country is so bad. I can't even stand this country. And yet, sometimes you find that it's their lack of planning, their lack of ambition that keeps them at that level. Let's move on to the next one. Now, this one here is also quite common, and I think this is the majority. These are the survivors. So these diasporans, they came to better their lives. But in bettering their lives, let's say they came from a lifestyle which was, let's say, down here. So they come to the diaspora and then their lifestyle is up here. So a few key factors are perhaps maybe when they were back home, they were driving a 20-year-old car. They didn't have a lot of nice clothes and so on. But as soon as they come to the diaspora, oh my goodness, now they can, drive a very nice car. They can wear the expensive clothes, and typically these people are hard workers. They work, send money back home, and pretty much relax. So they've hit their ceiling of achievements. So basically, they have no pressure. They have no pressure. Their lifestyle is fantastic. It's way better than they had when they left Zimbabwe. So they are just pretty much, coasting in life. Now, the challenge with this group is when it comes to shifting the mode. Let's say, for example, we realize that, okay, in the diaspora, things are actually getting very difficult. The immigration laws, even the normal country, it's become hostile against immigrants. And it's time now to make a shift. You'll find that these group of people, they get stuck because they haven't really planned plan B. So they're stuck on that situation. And in most cases, you find that a lot of these people, some of them, they've gone into, a lot of debt through mortgages and credit cards and so on. So they're often quite aggressive, especially if you try and talk about, maybe this is not a good idea or this is not a good investment. Oftentimes they're very, very aggressive because they've already made mistakes, and putting out a message like this is almost like a direct attack to them. Okay, so that's the second group. And then there are the comfort seekers. Now, the comfort seekers, they're similar to survivors, but these guys now, what they do is they have gotten a job or a career which is fantastic, and pretty much that career is, all they wanted to achieve, and there's nothing else to thrive for. So oftentimes you'll find that they're happy with what they have achieved. They've really worked hard to get their career, their business, whatever it is, but they're not happy. I mean, they don't mind or they don't care about anything else that comes beyond that. Okay, so let's move on to the smart diasporan. Now, the smart diasporan is, as in the name, very smart, because what this group of people does is they get into the diaspora and they look for opportunities. They look at how the system works and find out ways of being part of that system. So what they do is they've got one ear in the diaspora and one ear, abroad, whether it's back home or any other countries. And they're constantly scanning for opportunities and ways to actually better themselves. And this is one of those traits which you don't find in these other diasporans. And oftentimes this is the group that really succeeds. They are easygoing, they don't have a lot of friends, and when you sit down with them, when you have a conversation with them, you'll find that you'll leave that conversation empowered. You also leave that conversation, feeling very enthusiastic, because they have an aura around them which is to grow, and they help. These people, you call them, you want advice, they'll help you without even flinching. No problem. There's no jealousy. There's no stress with these guys. And oftentimes they're like introverts. They're not really out there. You don't see them all over the place. They just mind their own business. They're confident, with themselves. They don't have to go and show off and do all this crazy shopping and look at me, look at what I've done. They are very methodical in what they do. I remember a time when we first came to the UK. This is going back 2001. And we were working in a factory. So while we were in that factory, and this is why I'm doing this video, by the way, because it's based on experience and what I've seen. I remember there was a group of people. There was this company called Yes Car Credit. Okay, a lot of the guys there were cleaners, at the factory, cleaners. So you would find that they'll be buying the latest 406 Peugeot 406 at the time. And yet they're cleaners. And I would look at that and say, wow, we're cleaning maximum after overtime. You're getting what, 300-400 a week? Why would anyone do that? Right? So this is where the line starts separating. I'm not saying I'm better than them or I was better at the time. It's just that the way I looked at things was different. So at that time, I was thinking to myself, wow, you know what? I need to increase the money that I'm earning. So I started learning how to build computers. I started building computers, selling them, at a cheaper price compared to PC World, for example. So in the end, the car that I ended up driving was an old Volvo 440. I remember that car. That was my first car in the UK, Volvo 440. It was very comfortable and it had heated seats. And I was really excited about that because obviously over here it's very, very cold and it gets really cold. So having heated seats for me was a big deal. But I'm just giving you an example of the mentality. Now, while we were there were also people that were trying to make extra money even back home. I remember people were buying combis, they were buying buses, they were buying trucks, with all that money they were making. But they lived a laid-back lifestyle. So this is what the smart immigrant does. Now, there's also other qualities, and that is they are keen on investing. You'll find that these guys will have stocks, these guys will have other things going on the ground back there in Zimbabwe, but they don't show off. Right? They're not there showing you like, oh yeah, look at me, I've got this, I've got that. And the way they use money is totally different. You won't find them, with expensive brand designer clothes. Of course, I'm not saying they don't wear designer, but I'm saying that's not their goal, right? As compared to, the other groups of people where, fashion is on top of the list. Looking good is the top of the list. And being seen driving a certain car is, that's a priority. So these smart diasporans, what they do now is they plan for the future, okay? Because, it's inevitable. We are all going to retire. We are all going to slow down. So they're planning 10, 15 years ahead. And this is what makes them unique. I've spoken to a lot of guys, especially from the Kumusha Investors Group, Kumusha Investors Community. Oh my goodness. There are people from the diaspora that are doing amazing things on the ground. You'll be shocked. There are people who right now, they are doing cell phone farming. They're doing broilers, 500 every 6 weeks, 1,000 every 6 weeks, but they're just chilled, planning, There's also others, they have their own businesses in the diaspora, but they're investing heavily back home. Does that mean that the country is so amazing? No, it's just plan B. So that is why you find that when opportunities come up, you know what, let's do this in Zimbabwe. A lot of people are not able to then start investing back in Zimbabwe. I said a lot of people, I didn't say all of them. Mainly because a lot of the lifestyle that they had was very, very expensive. So to shift so fast, it's impossible. That is why you hear people saying, this guy is making so much money. He must have gotten help from the government. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It does. But it's not everyone who's like that. You know what? I think this guy is doing this or achieving this because they're using magic. How can this guy achieve this? Now, what happens usually is in the diaspora, it's very easy to hang out with people. I call them pity parties, okay? This is a group of people, the same mentality, and they all sing from the same hymn book, right? Zimbabwe is bad, Zimbabwe is messed up, I'll never go back, everything is so bad, everything is so bad. So everyone is bouncing this same energy around them, and then get shocked when other people are doing certain things. So automatically to them, they're like, how can that be possible? We're all in the diaspora. How have you achieved all of this? But a lot of the smart diasporans, they've got low short-term, they don't have short-term gratification. They have long-term gratification. So you'll find that they will not buy a car necessarily. I'm just giving an example. They won't buy a car. They won't get a mortgage. They won't buy the latest phones and so on, because they realize that money can be used elsewhere and start something else. Sometimes they may even have a mortgage, right? But their lifestyle is on the down low, because that's the money now that's used to then use and promote other activities elsewhere. So as you can imagine, we're all in the diaspora here. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're all going to achieve the same thing. That is why we have varying ideas about Zimbabwe. We have varying ideas about the UK and so on, because of how we are. It's a mental state. So that is what makes the biggest difference. So let's say you are in one of these groups. Maybe you are part of the victims mentality syndrome group, and you like to get out of it. Well, yes, you can. It's not too late. You can get out of it and start hanging out with people who are progressive, people who are open-minded, and people that can share very, very smart and beautiful ideas for you to improve your life. Because remember, we all come from a blank slate, which is, for the most part, we have a poor background, because there isn't generational wealth. Like, for example, in my case, my dad did not leave me with anything. I had to start everything from scratch, plan my retirement, and at the same time, try and make sure that my children grow up balanced and I give them enough exposure. So that is double trouble. It's very, very difficult to achieve that. So what you find now is, if you hang around with the smart guys, your mentality starts changing. That Zimbabwe that you used to see as, I'll never live there, I'll never go there, the government is this, or you start seeing it from a different light. So rather than looking for problems, you'll start scanning for solutions and how you can provide solutions in those areas. Every time I look at Zimbabwe, and sometimes you may be wondering, why am I so enthusiastic? And why do I have so much belief and trust in Zimbabwe? It's because the country is full of potential in pretty much all industries. And the only people that can build this country, to a massive extent, if we are serious, is the diasporans. The reason why I'm saying that is because a chunk of the money that's in the economy of Zimbabwe comes through from the diaspora. Billions every year. Billions every year. That's a lot of money, right? So one way you can be part of the smart diasporans is by joining Kumusha Investments. Joining Kumusha Investments is, in fact, for those of you that don't know, Kumusha Investments is a Zimbabwean community for diasporans. And this community, we're trying to come together to invest back home together with like-minded people. And it is possible. Right now, all our efforts are all segmented. And of course, you know that when everything is segmented, it's very difficult to come to a common goal. So this is what we are trying to achieve. In fact, now that we are close to mid-January, everyone has settled now. We're going to be having a meeting with the with other members, and then we're going to be announcing the ways forward, all the investment opportunities, and so on. And this could be one of those opportunities that could just change how you look at life and how you may want to retire. So I'll leave a link to that in the video description below. Okay, so tell me, have you noticed these groups? And do you know anyone in these groups? Or perhaps, maybe you can share which group you're in. That'll be very interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments box below. Until next time, thanks for watching. I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.